Hello and welcome to another video. So I'm back again today and I'm going to be cooking a recipe from Julia Child's cookbook, Mastering the Art of French Cooking. I'm going to be making a Coq Au Vin. It's a cold day here today. It was below 2 degrees Celsius this morning, and you know what, I was just thinking it's the perfect day for something that's really going to warm you up, and I've got a bit of time on my hands, so I thought may as well make something nice. I am yet to cook any of Julia Child's recipes, so it'll be quite interesting today to see what it's like. How does a cookbook from 1983 hold up to sort of today's times? I'm sure it's going to be good. Okay, so we're turned to page 277 of the cookbook, and here we have the Coq Au Vin, chicken in red wine with onions, mushrooms and bacon. 4 to 3 ounces of chunk of lean bacon, butter, chicken, salt, pepper, cognac, I'm not going to buy the cognac, young full-bodied red wine, chicken stock, tomato paste, garlic, thyme, bay leaf. Oh, sounds easy enough to me. So let's head off down to the supermarket and get everything that we need. We are at the supermarket. Alright, back home from shopping. Let's see what we got. What I've got here, let's have a look. Some fresh thyme, button mushrooms, the all-important butter. They didn't have any fresh green beans, so I've just got them frozen. This isn't a part of the recipe, but it's a common side, so we're just going to be doing some green beans with butter and parsley. I opted for some Manuka smoked bacon pieces. It's not essential that we've got perfectly cut bacon for this. It gets us to cube it up anyway, and I reckon this will do the trick. Also going to be serving this with some potatoes along with the green beans. Next up for myself, a little bit of dark chocolate was on special, so keep that over there. We've got an onion, and for our meat I've gone for some skin on, bone in chicken thighs. As you can see, I've got 4 thighs here, and this came to just under $9. Be interesting to see what other people, perhaps from overseas, think of our supermarket prices, because for us it's quite expensive. Got some chicken bones that I'm going to use to make a quick little chicken stock, because for something like this I reckon we need a little bit better than the powdered stuff or the store-bought stuff, so I'll just make a quick stock out of that. And a cheap bottle of Merlot Cabernet. Sweet, so let's get that chicken stock on the go and we'll go from there. I've got my pot from the pressure cooker. I've got one of those instant pressure cookers, and I'm just going to load in all of my bones into there, and I think I'll keep it like low effort. So I've got some parsley stems. I'm going to add just the stems in because we won't use those otherwise, and I'm gonna add some thyme and some bay leaves as well. I love the smell of thyme, it's so beautiful. Black pepper, just gonna do maybe a teaspoon of black peppercorns, as you can see there. A couple of cloves might add a nice sort of warm wintry taste. And I've got a few bay leaves there, so I'm just going to add that into everything. So as you can see, some herbs, some spices, and our chicken. I'd normally roast this off, but for today I'm just going to add some water and then put it in the pressure cooker for about sort of 40 minutes to get everything nice and flavorful. I've got about 800 milliliters of water. How we do this? Lid goes on top and pressure cook for 40 minutes. There we go. So I've got my bacon here. I'm just going to add this into a heavy bottomed a cast iron pan. Right, so I'll add that into there. And to that, I'm just going to add some water. Now, turning that on, and I'm just going to simmer that for a while. So it's been 10 minutes. I'm taking the bacon out, and then I'm going to strain out all of this excess sort of bacon fat water, and we're going to replace that with butter. Now that I've cooked off the bacon in the water, I'm just going to bring the pan to a low heat and add the bacon back in to the pan, cooking off any excess liquid that was left over. And then I'm going to add in some butter. And I'm going to cook that on a low heat until we are browned and golden. As you can see, it's getting really nice and golden brown. Alright, so what I've got here, I've got 4 chicken thighs, weighing just around 1 kilogram. So I'm doing a little bit less than what the recipe says, just because I'm just cooking for my partner and I, and this will probably feed us for dinner tonight and lunch tomorrow. Here we go. So, turning the heat up a little bit, skin side down on the chicken, and I'm just laying that into the pan. Doesn't say to season it yet. While that's cooking down, we'll get prepared with the rest of our stuff. Just got an onion here, and I'm just going to top and tail that. Cut it in half. Peel off our skins and roughly chop it into sort of like a 1 centimeter dice. Going to add 2 cloves of garlic, which I'm just going to mince up. Okay, chicken's browning. I've got the bacon and the onion here, tomato paste and garlic. The only other things that we'll need to add to this is our thyme, some black pepper, a bay leaf, our wine and our stock. And then we'll let that all simmer away for about 40 minutes or so. Okay, now that our chicken is nearly finished browning, we're going to season it with some fine sea salt and some black pepper. Doing that on both sides. Not too heavy on the salt at this stage, just because our stock and our bacon are both very salty, so we don't want to over season it. Okay, now in we go with all of that stuff. This is also a good opportunity, I think, for the onions to sort of lift some of that fond off the bottom of the pan. It's going to be a lot of flavour in that. And I'm just leaving the thyme sort of whole, and we'll just pick it out at the end. We don't really want lots of little bits in there. I just want the flavour from it, so that's why I have decided not to pick it all. Rustic. So just going to sweat that down for about 5 minutes until the onions sort of give away, become a little bit translucent. And again, I've got my bay leaf in here as well. It's starting to smell really good. So we're just going to add our chicken back into the pan, and then we're going to deglaze it with our wine, and then add in our stock. Okay, here we go. So yeah, that's nearly covered the whole amount there. And I'm just going to cook off that raw alcohol smell from the wine. Adding in our chicken stock. And we want to just sort of bring it to covering everything. So I'd say that's about the perfect amount. I got a little bit of stock left over, but that's okay. We're going to add in our tomato paste and garlic. And yeah, that's what I noticed that was a little bit different with this recipe, is adding it at this stage without sauteing it off. Yeah, I'm so used to cooking off tomato paste and garlic in like the sauteing stage of a recipe, so it'll be interesting to see if I can notice any difference. Cool, so I've got the chicken simmering there now. I'm going to simmer it on sort of like a medium-low temperature for about 40 minutes or so. And then after that, we're going to take all of the contents out and then reduce the liquid down and then sort of bind it all together with a butter flour emulsion sort of paste. Okay, so I'm just going to lift out each thigh as to not make too much splashing. And I'm going to fit it over this colander and then strain all the liquid into a new pot and then aggressively reduce it all down. Alright, so now I've got all of my juices from the Coq Au Vin there, and I'm just going to place it over a high heat and then reduce it down a little bit, add in our butter and our flour and get it into a nice sauce consistency so we can pour it over the top of the braised chicken and the mushrooms that we're about to saute right now. So for the mushrooms, I'm going to prepare them really simply. I'm just going to cut them in half and then saute them in a bit of butter. Traditionally, the Coq Au Vin, well, according to the Julia Child recipe, uses pearl onions as well, similar to what you'd see in like a beef bourguignon, but I literally could not find them anywhere, so we're just going to omit them for this recipe. But by all means, if you're able to get your hands on them, I highly recommend it. And I've got some butter here and a sort of saute pan that I've got over a medium-high heat. And I'm going to go in with the butter and in with the mushrooms. And we want these to saute down, release all of their moisture, and then begin to brown before we add it into everything else. Alright, so now that the sauce has been reduced nicely, I'm just going to add some of that butter flour mixture to give it a nice thickness. Alright, so just whisking that in as per the recipe, and that should all come together into a nice thick and rich sauce. As this comes to the boil, that will be when the thickening occurs. As you can see, it's now thickened up nicely, and we're going to add it over top of our stew. Cool, so there we go, we've got all of our stew in there, and we're going to add over our nice enriched reduced sauce, and that's the perfect sort of amount. We want to have a good amount of sauce, but we don't want it to be too runny. And then to that we've got our mushrooms, which are just beautiful and golden, and we've sauteed them off and they can go into there as well. I'm going to give that a good stir together. And then we'll cover that up and keep it aside until we're ready with everything else. Okay, so I've just finished sauteing the green beans after blanching them, and it's time to serve up. So come on over here, and we're just going to put a couple of spoons onto each plate, These are really simple, so just blanch in water for about 2 minutes, butter into a pan, and then a little bit of salt and pepper until all of that moisture's come off and they're nice and delicious. Alright, and then we've got some of our potatoes that I've tossed with a little bit of butter and some parsley and some cracked pepper. Another sort of classic side. And for the final part, the Coq Au Vin, and this is looking delicious. So I'm just going to serve out one thigh on each plate. Like so. And we'll get a good amount of those bacon and mushrooms with that sauce. Extra sauce, and that'll be delicious to mop up with those green beans and potatoes. And just like that, there we go. We've finished off our recipe from Julia Child's cookbook, the Coq Au Vin, that we've cooked with some French green beans and some potatoes and parsley. Time to give it a go. And we'll try a little bit of this red as well and give it a bit of a review to see what an $8 bottle of wine really tastes like. Alright, so let's give it a little taste. Wine first. Not half bad, but not great either. Alright, let's give it a go. Chicken seems nice and tender. Try that with a little bit of the sauce and some of the mushrooms. Utterly delicious. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.